Hey guys, Fire here from InDepth Gaming, bringing you another game review. This time we're checking out SAOMI. SAOMI is developed by Naoko Games, published by QU Interactive, and released on September 14th, 2022 for a price of $3.99. So what is SAOMI? Quite simply, it's a platformer game. It's a platformer game that is basically it's a single screen platformer that takes place over multiple worlds, about 5 in the game that you'll encounter through. I think it's over 60 levels. We'll kind of check here in just a second. But the game is actually quite simple. You pretty much play everything on one screen. While you're playing, you're going to start to progress through and earn abilities. So these super early levels, you're just going to start to learn how to jump and do some of your basic movement. And then as the game progresses on, the game's going to start to introduce threats. And the game builds those threats over time, starting off with some fairly simple things like spike traps. Then you'll start to get to enemies and moving obstacles and things like that honestly build up to be one of the most challenging platformer games that I think I've played in a while. Some of the levels even getting up into the near Super Meat Boy original kind of difficulty and plus kind of difficulty. Maybe not quite there, but honestly, nothing like the pushovers that we've seen from fairly recent platformer style games. Game that gets, really under your skin with the difficulty levels, and let's kind of show off some of those levels and while we talk a little bit more about the game. So as you can see here, I've played a majority of the levels. You got 60 levels, and frankly the only reason I'm not done with all 60 is they're tough. It's taken me a couple hours just to get this far, and it'll probably take me a couple hours to get even through the rest, but I have been able to venture through pretty much all the worlds. The game has two different difficulties. I spent most of my time on normal mode, but as you can see, some of the levels start to get insanely difficult. Here, you actually haven't even unlocked the dash ability. As you go through more and more levels, you'll start to unlock more and more mechanics that allow you to kind of take on those levels in a unique way. This game will actually give you an ability known as dash. Let me get a level that's a little easier to play while I'm not absolutely horrible at talking. But as you play, you'll start to earn new abilities. As you saw, like double jump is something that I earned. You'll change in different environments, but then you'll get this kind of dash ability that really makes the game quite unique in how you have to kind of work through things. Is you'll have to time things and sequence them to get through everything. And even though I'm probably gonna die here and struggle quite a bit with this level, it's not because I'm talking for the most part. It's because this game is just that hard, and the controls are very finicky. And what I mean by finicky is if you look here, how my guy dashes sometimes straight diagonally. It's not because I'm trying to dash diagonally. It's because the game kind of does that for me. So if you find yourself getting stuck into some pretty tight environments and levels, I'm going to recommend that you maybe break out using the D-pad for some of the more challenging areas. You'll kind of see what I'm talking about if I can eventually get up to these jumpers up here. That having that finesse really helps out. Keep dying everywhere I go. Eventually I'll get to the end of this and you guys can see a level. But, see, and this is part of what's taken me so long to beat this is, just missing your timing, or, the checkpoints are generous, but they're also brutal at the same time. And, it can be, let's put it this way, if you don't like games being frustrating, this is not going to be a game for you. But if you like challenging platformers that will definitely test your nerve, SAOMI is a game for you. As much as it sounds like I'm getting frustrated while playing this game, I'm actually really enjoyed it, and I'm really excited to get the rest of the levels beat in this game. But at the same time, I'm just like ready to be done with this and move on to the next game. As far as, like I said, the controls and difficulty level, the game does hold its tone to being a more difficult game. If you're looking for a quick and easy completion, this is definitely not that. I know we've seen a lot of quick and easy titles get published through QU Interactive, but this is definitely not going to be one of those. And if you're looking for something that's a bit more meaty and challenging, this is probably a game up your alley. Now, when I was talking about that more like D-pad finickiness, these kind of sections where you need to jump and have precise movement and not go dashing, vertically out of randomness or sliding too much, this is definitely the time when I'm going to recommend using your D-pad. It's a little hard to explain, but you know, if you definitely pick this game up, I think you'll understand what I'm trying to explain while going through here. Now, as far as visuals, I think this game does a really good job. It's a really good bit style. I love the artistic like approach with the game, and you know, I'm always been a big fan with these kind of games. Now, the game does have these like cool little collectible gems. You're not seeing them in my game because, frankly, I've collected pretty much all of them. The game has an achievement for you to get at least 100 of them. I've already managed to get over 100. I'm not even done. So if you find yourself struggling, you can skip a few of them. Don't feel like you need to continually push through them and struggle. You can work your way through while playing through the game and not be too overly frustrated. Now, the game, like I said, does have these little like checkpoint ballooned area things that you can kind of work your way to. These little things here. So it does make the levels a little easier, but it's still challenging nonetheless. So, you know, I think most people are going to find it to be, you know, something that it's rewarding at the same time, but sometimes they're in just some of the darndest locations, and it'll definitely drive you crazy. You know, this is definitely one of those areas I was talking about. Using the D-pad is going to come in more handy and give you less opportunity to make mistakes in your movement. But yeah, overall though, I've really enjoyed SAOMI. You know, it's definitely, like I said, it's just a challenging platformer that is built together really well. The controls are pretty simple. Now, I do need to mention this before I give my opinion on the game. The developers are aware of this. There is kind of a, it's not a game-breaking bug, but every time you unlock an achievement in this game, currently it kicks you all the way back out to the main menu and remakes you sign back into your profile. Now, it's not something that breaks the game, but if you unlock an achievement for getting a gem or dying so many times you need to do, even if you're in the middle of the level, the game kicks you back and it doesn't save your progress. So that is definitely a little bit of frustrating. But for a game that comes in at just $4, it's a very easy thing to kind of overlook. After about 20 levels, you're pretty much done popping random achievements, and it's basically, you know, getting to those milestones, so it becomes less of a nuisance, but it's still a nuisance, and I still need to kind of mention that. As far as giving an opinion of whether, you know, buy, sell, pass, if you love platforming games and you love difficult, challenging games to complete, now this isn't going to be the most impossible 1000 for you to knock out, but it's not going to be the easiest 1000 nonetheless. As you can see here, this is the forest level that I'm currently in, and, you know, you start to get some pretty crazy things that you have to really sequence yourself through. And, you know, it's just, it becomes just a timing game more than anything. And, you know, the thing about it is if you make one simple mistake, you know, some of these checkpoints are very unforgiving. And, you know, that's just kind of the nature of these kind of games. And for me, I love that this game has this difficulty level metric to it, but it's still very frustrating at the same time. But it's oh so rewarding when you finally get to the end of that level, get that door, and then get to proceed to that next stage. You know, for me, you know, there's not too much that's not enjoyable when it comes to games like these. You know, I love like N Plus, Super Meat Boy, all those kind of platformer retro style bit games. You know, this game definitely just hits a nerve that's just a good nerve to hit. But yeah, outside of that, I hope you guys enjoyed this review of SAOMI. If you ended up picking up the game off of this review, let me know down below in the comments. If you already got the game and agree, disagree, please let me know as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. We do reviews, guides, gameplays, and all kinds of other content that varies. It's pretty much Xbox related. But I hope you enjoyed this review, and I hope we catch you next time. Have a great rest of your day. Well, you know, I said have a great rest of your day. We'll go until I die, which